The Power of 1% Daily. Part 1. The Invisible Shift. There is a moment in every life that almost no one notices. It is not loud. It is not dramatic. There is no music, no warning, no signal. And yet, it is the moment everything begins to change. Most people miss it because it looks like nothing. A small decision, a tiny action, something so insignificant that your mind says, "This doesn't matter." But that is where you are wrong. Because your life is not built in giant leaps. It is built in invisible steps. And today, whether you realize it or not, you are already becoming someone. The question is, who? Imagine two people. They wake up in the same city. They have similar opportunities, similar time, similar potential. One chooses to read 5 pages. The other scrolls for 10 minutes. That's it. Nothing dramatic, nothing impressive. But repeat that for 30 days, 90 days, 1 year. And suddenly, they are no longer the same person. One has clarity, the other has noise. One has direction, the other has distraction. And here's the truth most people avoid. Success is not a big moment. Failure is not a big mistake. They are both habits. You don't wake up successful one day. You wake up slightly better, or slightly worse, every day. That's the game. And almost everyone is playing it unconsciously. They wait for motivation. They wait for the right time. They wait to feel ready. But the people who change their lives, they don't wait. They move, even when it feels small, even when it feels useless, even when no one is watching, especially then. There is a hidden law that controls your future. What you repeat, you become. Not what you dream about, not what you plan, not what you say, what you repeat. Because repetition is identity. Every time you act, you are casting a vote for the type of person you are becoming. Read 1 page, you are becoming a reader. Train for 5 minutes, you are becoming disciplined. Write a few lines, you are becoming a creator. And if you do nothing, you are becoming someone who does nothing. This is not about perfection. This is about direction. You don't need to change your whole life today. You don't need to wake up at 5 a.m. You don't need to become a different person overnight. You only need one thing, a shift so small it feels almost pointless. Because that is the secret. Big changes fail because they fight your nature. Small changes win because they become your nature. Think about water. A single drop does nothing. But drops, repeated over time, can carve stone. Your habits are those drops, and your life is the stone. Right now you might be thinking, this is too simple. Good, because simple is what works. Complicated systems break. Extreme motivation fades. But simple actions, repeated daily, become unstoppable. So here is your first realization. You are not one decision away from a new life. You are one repeated action away. And that changes everything. Because it means you can start now. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel ready. Now. With something so small that you cannot fail. In the next part, you will discover why most people never change, even when they want to. And more importantly, how to become the person who actually does. Part 2. The Identity Trap. There is a hidden reason why most people never change. It is not laziness. It is not lack of intelligence. And it is not because they do not want it badly enough. It is something deeper, something invisible, something that silently controls every decision you make, your identity. You see, people don't act based on what they want. They act based on who they believe they are. And that belief is often outdated. A man says, "I want to be fit." But deep inside, he believes, "I am not disciplined." So he starts working out. Day 1 feels strong. Day 2 feels possible. Day 3 feels heavy. And by day 5, he stops. Not because he can't continue, but because continuing would conflict with his identity. And your brain will always choose consistency over improvement, even if that consistency is holding you back. This is the identity trap. You are not stuck because of your habits. Your habits are a reflection of your identity. And until your identity shifts, your actions will always return to what feels familiar. Think about this. Why does someone who has never read a book struggle to read even 5 pages? It's not because 5 pages are difficult. It's because reading is not part of who they are. But give that same task to someone who says, "I am a reader," and it becomes natural, effortless, expected. So if you want to change your life, you don't start with goals. You start with identity. Most people do the opposite. They say, "I will lose weight. I will make money. I will be successful." But these are outcomes, and outcomes are unstable. They depend on motivation, mood, and circumstances. Identity is different. Identity is stable. Identity drives behavior automatically. Instead of saying, "I want to run," you say, "I am a runner." Instead of saying, "I want to write," you say, "I am a writer." Instead of saying, "I want to improve," you say, "I am someone who improves daily." At first, it will feel like a lie. That's normal, because your current identity was also built slowly, through repetition, through evidence, through small actions repeated over time. And this is where everything changes, because you don't need to prove your identity all at once. You only need to vote for it. Every small action is a vote, not a transformation, a vote. One push-up is a vote for being strong. One page is a vote for being intelligent. One decision is a vote for discipline. And votes accumulate. The mistake most people make is that they try to change their life in one massive decision. But identity does not change in one moment. It changes in patterns, in repetition, in quiet, unnoticed actions. Here is the shift. Stop focusing on what you want to achieve. Start focusing on who you want to become. Because once you become that person, the results follow automatically. A disciplined person does not fight to be consistent. Consistency is natural to them. A focused person does not struggle to avoid distractions. They simply don't identify with them. A strong person does not need motivation. They act because that is who they are. And now, a question. Who are you becoming today? Not in your dreams, not in your plans, but in your actions. Because whether you realize it or not, you are reinforcing an identity right now, with every choice, with every delay, with every excuse, or with every small step forward. So here is your task. Choose your identity. Not a goal, not a result, an identity. And then, prove it. Not with something big, not with something impressive, but with something small, something repeatable, something real. Because in the next part, you will learn the most powerful principle in this entire book: why small actions are not just effective, they are unstoppable. Part 3. The Unstoppable Rule. There is a rule so simple, most people ignore it, and yet it is the difference between people who change their lives and those who stay exactly the same. It is not about intensity. It is not about motivation. It is not about talent. It is about one thing: consistency at the smallest level. People believe big results require big actions. They imagine transformation as something dramatic, a sudden breakthrough, a powerful decision, a moment that changes everything. But real change does not work like that. Real change is quiet. It happens in the moments no one sees. When you choose to do a little instead of nothing. When you continue instead of stopping. When you show up even when it feels pointless. This is the unstoppable rule. Never miss twice. You will fail. You will skip days. You will lose focus. You will feel tired, distracted, or unmotivated. That is not the problem. The problem is the second miss. Because one miss is an accident. 2 misses is the beginning of a new habit. Think about it. You skip 1 workout. It means nothing. You skip 2. Now it starts to become a pattern. You miss 1 day of reading. No issue. You miss 2. Now your brain starts accepting it. Your life does not fall apart in one moment. It drifts, slowly, silently, through repeated inaction. And the same is true for growth. You don't build a powerful life in one action. You build it by returning, again and again. This is why small actions are unstoppable, because they are easy to repeat, and repetition is where power lives. Most people fail because they rely on motivation. They wait to feel ready. They wait to feel inspired. But motivation is unstable. It comes and goes. It cannot be trusted. Systems can. A system is not something complicated. It is simply a rule you follow, no matter what. And the best systems are small. So small that you cannot argue with them. Instead of saying, "I will train for 1 hour," you say, "I will do 1 minute." Instead of saying, "I will read for 30 minutes," you say, "I will read 1 page." Instead of saying, "I will change my life today," you say, "I will take 1 step." And here is what happens. You remove resistance. You remove excuses. You remove the mental battle. Because no one can say, "I don't have time for 1 minute." No one can say, "I don't have energy for 1 page." And once you start, something powerful happens. Momentum. Action creates energy, not the other way around. You don't act because you feel good. You feel good because you act. So even the smallest action has the power to pull you forward. This is why the rule works. Never miss twice. Miss once? Return immediately. No guilt. No overthinking. No delay. Just return. Because success is not about being perfect. It is about being consistent. And consistency is not about never failing. It is about never stopping. Imagine a person who improves just 1% each day. It seems invisible, useless, pointless. But over time, that 1% becomes everything. While others wait for the perfect moment, they move. While others plan, they act. While others hesitate, they build. And slowly, without noise, without attention, they become unstoppable. So here is your shift. Stop trying to do more. Start trying to miss less. Because the person who never misses twice is the person who never truly stops. And in the next part, you will discover the force that makes habits automatic or impossible: your environment. Because willpower is weak, but your surroundings are powerful. Part 4. The environment effect. There is something shaping your behavior right now, and you probably don't even notice it. It's not your goals, it's not your motivation, it's not even your discipline. It's your environment. Look around you. Everything you see, everything you hear, everything within your reach is quietly influencing your actions. Most people believe they are in control of their choices, but in reality, their environment is making those choices for them. If your phone is always in your hand, you will scroll. If junk food is always in front of you, you will eat it. If distractions are everywhere, focus becomes impossible. This is not weakness. This is design. Your brain is wired to choose what is easy, what is visible, what is immediate, not what is best. And your environment determines what is easy. Think about this. Why is it easier to check your phone than to read a book? Because your phone is closer. Because it is designed to pull your attention. Because it is visible, accessible, and rewarding. Now imagine the opposite. A book placed on your desk, your phone in another room. Suddenly, reading becomes easier than scrolling. Nothing about your motivation changed, only your environment did. And that changes everything. Because if you control your environment, you control your behavior. Successful people understand this. They don't rely on willpower. They design their surroundings. They make good habits obvious and bad habits invisible. If they want to train, they prepare their clothes in advance. If they want to write, they open their workspace before they begin. If they want to focus, they remove distractions before they start. They don't fight temptation, they remove it. This is the hidden advantage. Not stronger discipline, better design. Because willpower is limited. It fades throughout the day. It weakens with stress. It disappears when you need it most. But environment is constant. It works even when you are tired, even when you are distracted, even when you don't feel like trying. So instead of asking, "How can I be more disciplined?" ask, "How can I make this easier?" How can you make the good habit visible? How can you make the bad habit harder? Small changes create powerful results. Place your book where you can see it. Remove apps that steal your attention. Prepare your next action in advance. Simplify your choices. Because every extra step creates resistance, and every removed step creates momentum. You don't need more strength, you need less friction. And when your environment supports your habits, something incredible happens. You stop forcing yourself. You start flowing. The action becomes natural, automatic, effortless. Not because you changed your willpower, but because you changed your world. So here is your challenge. Look at your environment, not as it is, but as it shapes you. Ask yourself, is this environment helping me become who I want to be, or holding me in who I used to be? Because every object around you is sending you a signal, and those signals are building your future. In the next part, you will discover why starting is easy, but continuing is hard, and how to make habits feel rewarding so they never fade away. Because what gets rewarded gets repeated. Part 5. The Reward Loop. Starting is easy. Almost anyone can begin. A new routine, a new goal, a new version of themselves. It feels exciting, fresh, full of possibility. But then something happens. The excitement fades. The effort feels heavier. The results are not immediate. And slowly, what once felt easy becomes difficult. This is where most people stop. Not because they are weak, but because their brain is working exactly as it was designed to. Your brain is always asking one question: is this worth it? And it answers that question based on one thing: reward. If an action feels rewarding, you will repeat it. If it feels empty, you will avoid it. This is the reward loop. Cue, action, reward. You see something, you do something, you feel something. And that feeling decides whether the habit stays or disappears. The problem is this: good habits often feel unrewarding in the moment. Bad habits feel rewarding immediately. Eating junk food feels good now. Scrolling feels good now. Avoiding effort feels good now. But reading, training, building, those rewards come later. And your brain prefers now. So if you don't understand this, you will always feel resistance. Always feel like you're forcing yourself. Always feel like it's hard. Because you are fighting your own wiring. But there is a way to change this. You don't need to wait for long-term results. You can create immediate rewards. And when you do, your habits become addictive. Here's how. First, celebrate small wins. After you complete a habit, acknowledge it, even if it's tiny, even if it feels insignificant, because your brain needs a signal. This matters. That signal builds reinforcement. Second, make the process enjoyable. If you hate the habit, you will avoid it. So adjust it, simplify it, shape it in a way that feels good. Listen to music while training. Sit in a comfortable space while reading. Create a ritual that you enjoy, because enjoyment creates consistency. Third, track your progress. Not for perfection, but for visibility. When you see your progress, you feel momentum. When you feel momentum, you continue. Even a simple check mark can be powerful, because it represents something deeper. You showed up, and showing up is the real win. Fourth, link habits to identity. Remind yourself, this is who I am. Not, I have to do this, but I choose to do this. That shift changes everything. Because when a habit becomes part of who you are, it stops feeling like effort. It becomes natural. And finally, be patient. Because the biggest reward is invisible at first. It is not the result. It is the change in you, the stronger mindset, the sharper focus, the deeper discipline. These are the real rewards, and they grow quietly, day by day, action by action, choice by choice, until one day you realize something powerful. What once felt difficult now feels normal. What once required effort now requires nothing. And that is when you know the habit is part of you. So here is the truth. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And your system is built on what you repeat. Part 6. The Compounding Life. There is a force that shapes your life more than talent, more than luck, more than intelligence. And yet, most people ignore it. Because it is slow. Because it is invisible. Because it does not give instant results. That force is time. Time is what turns small actions into massive outcomes. It is what transforms repetition into identity. It is what separates those who start from those who become. But here is the truth. Time does not reward effort. Time rewards consistency. You can work hard for one day and see nothing. You can work hard for 1 week and still see nothing. And this is where most people quit. Because they expect results too soon. They expect change to be visible. They expect progress to be obvious. But real progress is hidden. It is happening beneath the surface, in your mind, in your habits, in your identity, like roots growing under the ground. You don't see them, but they are building strength, preparing for something bigger. And then one day, without warning, everything changes. The results appear. The growth becomes visible. The effort finally shows. But what you are seeing is not sudden success. It is delayed results. This is the compounding effect. Small actions, repeated over time, create exponential change. At first, it feels slow, almost pointless. But then, it accelerates. And when it does, it feels like everything is happening at once. But it's not. It's everything you've been doing, finally catching up with you. This is why patience is power. Because most people stop right before the results appear. They plant the seed, water it for a few days, and then walk away, not realizing it was about to grow. The difference between success and failure is often just time. Not more effort, not more talent, just more consistency for longer. So here's the final shift. Stop asking, is this working? Start asking, am I continuing? Because if you continue, it will work. It has to. Not because of motivation, not because of luck, but because of the laws of repetition and time. Every action compounds. Every habit builds. Every choice adds up. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is lost. It is all being stored. And one day, it will return to you. As strength. As clarity. As discipline. As success. So do not underestimate small actions. Do not ignore simple habits. Do not stop because it feels slow. Because slow is how it starts. And unstoppable is how it ends. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need a perfect moment. You don't need to feel ready. You only need to begin. And then continue. One step. One action. 1%. Every day. Because your life is not built in one moment. It is built in what you repeat. And now you know the truth. Small actions are not small. They are everything.